This is the vlog for June 9th, and apparently wearing a white shirt is doing no good for my color balance. So today's theme is going to be my weird relationship with nature. Uh, we've been forecast to have rain all this weekend, and it's been a while since I've been able to go out and have a nice walk anytime during the day. So, right around noon, when the clouds started breaking up a bit and there was a lot of blue sky and even some sun, I decided that was the time I would go for a walk. And I went down to the Evans Creek Preserve to take a walk. And I got out of my car, and a woman walking up the path said, "I just got chased by a bear." Or let me start that part over again. I got out of my car and went to go down to the path into the preserve proper. A woman was walking back. She said, "Are you about to go in?" I said, "Yeah, I was going to go for a walk." She said, "Well, I just came face to face with a bear, probably about 5 feet away from me, and I screamed and ran away." And it was at the junction of, and she mentioned a couple of trails that I knew where she was talking about. I go through that area all the time. And she was like, "Yeah, and I don't know if running away was what I was supposed to do, but that's what I did." And I was like, "Well, yeah, screaming, they don't like loud noises, so that was probably a good idea." But she was telling anybody, you could tell she was kind of in shock. She definitely had been running, and probably a lot more than she intended to. That trail is meant for pretty leisurely walking or hiking. Um, so she had had an encounter. I believe that she very much got in front of a bear. I don't know if she got 5 feet away. That's very close. Um, but she got close enough that she could see its lips moving, and I think bears have a tendency to curl their lips up when they open their mouths, which helps make them look more fearsome. Not that they need a lot of help in that area. But yeah, I went down to the first area where the trail split, asked a few folks passing by if they had seen a bear. One family had not, but the other family said that they had definitely heard something in the bush, and they'd seen the woman who had seen the bear. So I decided discretion is the better part of valor, and I got back in my car and came back to our neighborhood. Um, I never saw a bear myself, but there have been a lot of bear sightings recently, both on this side of the main highway and on the other side, down in the preserve especially. That is bear. I mean, what else is a preserve for than to give homes to all sorts of critters in nature? So that's where the bear should be. The bear is better off there than in my backyard, but it does mean that I don't get to enjoy a walk. And it has started pouring down rain and is likely to be raining most of tomorrow as well. But I did walk. Yes, I walked today. I walked around the neighborhood nearby. And while I was walking, I heard a fluttering in a bush nearby, and I looked across the street, the opposite direction where I had come from, and didn't see anything at first. But then a crow, or more likely a raven based on its size, flew out of the bush and landed on the house I was walking past. I sort of paused and looked at it. It seemed to be looking at me. And then I kept walking, didn't think too much of it. And then I heard another thunk as it landed again on the side of the house I was walking past, looking quite intently at me. So at this point, I just kept walking quite briskly down a bit of a steep hill and around to the dog trail so that I could come back up without climbing that hill that was very steep. And eventually get back to my car because I knew that the rain was forecast and it wouldn't be sunny all day, and I didn't want to be caught out in the middle of a sudden storm. So while I was walking, I saw either the same bird or another bird, and well, two birds, a pair of birds. I don't know if one of them was the bird that had originally been hopping on the house watching me. But they started cawing at something in the woods. which, given that I had just been scared off by a bear, didn't fill me with a lot of confidence, so I kept going. And I continued to see a couple of black corvids of some sort, either a crow or raven or whatever. And then finally, when I was about to finish walking through the trail, I saw a gray squirrel and I believe they're called Douglas squirrels. I always thought they were just red squirrels, but it wasn't particularly red. It was slightly red around the edges, but still quite gray. Anyway, that squirrel chased off the regular gray squirrel, and then when it saw me, started screaming at me, and I was a bit amused, because it was up in its tree as if it's telling me, get lost, get out of here, get. It's a squirrel. What is it going to do to me? So I do one of these, like, oh, what are you going to do? And it ducks around behind the tree and then sticks its head out and like, you still here? You need to get out of here. And I did a couple things. I threw a stick up into the air to see if that would startle it, and it didn't care. And then I picked up a pine cone and threw it. I was never going to hit the squirrel. I didn't even hit the tree. It didn't even reach the tree. But that also didn't do anything to frighten it. So eventually since I wasn't planning on staying in its territory anyway, I just went on my way. But letting the squirrel win, that was a little frustrating. You like to think of yourself as a powerful apex predator of some sort, but here's the squirrel telling you how it's going to be, and you're forced to admit that you can't climb trees. So, what was Mother Nature up to today? Were these messages? Were these two ravens, Odin's watchers, trying to keep their eye on me? Was the squirrel the one that climbs up the world tree? And I told my friends, after all of this happened, if I saw a giant snake, I was going to move to Hawaii. No giant snakes though, so safe. I get to stay here for the time being. I'm going to be very careful about walking in the preserve, though, for the next month or so. I might just avoid it altogether, because it's really not my business to be all up in the territory of a bear. And the fact that I tend to walk by myself, so I'm not making a lot of noise and talking to people, means that I am in much more danger than somebody who is part of a group or a whole family that's talking and making a lot of noise and can, protect one another. I don't even have a dog, so I can't use that to sort of keep myself safe. This is a shame. This is the best time of the year to do any sort of walk in the preserve. Everything's bloomed and all the trees are quite green, and it's just lovely. Maybe that's why the bear's there. So I'll leave it to him. I'll keep going to Marymore or stay in the neighborhood nearby. But hope you like the story. And about the sneeze, I'm Eric Spornitz, and tomorrow will be better.